Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Kayla Lords
John Brownstone.
of Loving BDSM, where we help kinksters like you have happy, healthy power exchange relationships.
Yeah.
That's what we do, right?
Supposedly.
There's a rumor.
Yeah.
So, a little bit ago, we put out a video about how we planned our transition from long-distance DS to in-person DS.
Yes.
And while not everybody can plan, not everybody wants to plan, we recommend it because that's how we're wired. And we promised that we would talk about what it was actually like to transition, to make that transition and no longer be long distance and actually be living together and starting our DS in person.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, that. So that's what we're going to talk about. That was an extremely painful way to get there, but here we are.
Right.
So if you have not watched that previous video, I'll link in all of the places. You don't have to watch that for this, but it may make sense.
Gives a little context.
I think really what it was like to live together for the first time. The last time, we're not doing this again.
I was going to say, the way you say that, living together for the first time makes it sound like there's been multiple times.
Well, I have lived with multiple people over my life.
Oh, okay.
As have you.
True.
So that first experience of it, that new experience, you don't like the word first? New. You want to go with new? Okay. Which is no longer new. We have lived together since 2014. Yes. It really does start in the initial planning period because we're planners. We were trying to envision, well, what will this look like? What can we expect? I don't think either of us thought that we could pick up our long distance DS and just plop it in person and it would work across the board.
True.
If I recall, you took our original contract, which we have talked about in a previous video, links in all the places. You took that and fiddled with it.
I tinkered.
Right. To come up with this is what this might look like when we're living together.
Correct.
We did that together. We did our original contract. Like we do any change in our life. We talked about what we both wanted.
It was a renegotiation.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. But it was based on imagination. Based on what we thought it would be like. And so we had a long laundry list of items. To me, our DS being in person started when you got to my house that I used to live in and helped me move. Because at that point, we were together all the time, the whole time.
Yeah.
Now, we were surrounded by my vanilla family, so we were not overtly DS-y at all. That did not get to occur until we were in the U-Haul
and heading down the road.
Right. And then there was a lot of daddy and baby girl and be good. And I was like, but I don't want to, but okay.
Usual.
Right. That was actually also our first real-time navigating a moment that had nothing to do with DS, but that our DS was part of. So you were the driver.
Yeah.
I was the navigator. I've always been the navigator when you're driving. I look at, I don't like Siri's voice. I'm annoyed by it. So I watch the instructions on my map app.
And she relays them to me.
Right. I'm like, turn here, don't turn here. I don't know what this is. So figuring out which hotel to stay in, finding gas stations. Oh, here's your exit.
Yes.
I did that, one, because the person who's not driving can have a responsibility, but two, because I'm a helper. And it was absolutely within our power exchange. But that was still kind of vacation mode, because we were on the road for 2 days.
We were on the road for 2 days. We left your house fairly late, somewhat late in the day. And, yeah, we made arrangements to stop at a hotel. Because, let's face it, packing the truck wore us out.
Right, but we wanted to get on the road.
Yeah.
Desperately.
We wanted to have some miles behind us.
Plus, once the townhouse was empty, we were going to stay at a hotel anyway.
Yeah.
Might as well be closer to where we wanted to be.
Exactly. So, yeah, we did that. And, while I was doing the driving, you were hunting up a hotel.
Yes. Also, my job was to figure out where we could stop and eat or get snacks. But that actually, weirdly, you don't always know these things. You can't know these things until you're past them and you look back. That established how we travel together, because that is what I do.
Pretty much every time we go anywhere, no matter whether it's somewhat local or long distance, I pretty much do the driving. And you are the navigator.
So that was sort of almost a honeymoon period where nothing was really real yet. And then we arrived at the new apartment that we talked about in the previous video. And it still was a whirlwind of, it was what we had gone through in reverse. Instead of packing the U-Haul with my family, we were unpacking it with your
my family. Yes.
So we were still totally undercover, not using titles, not really displaying any overt power exchange. And they were there for hours, because it doesn't take long to unpack a U-Haul.
No.
Especially if you have enough help. But then there was, let's order pizza and let's have dinner and let's help you get sorted. And it was, I would say, technically...
It was chaotic.
Well, it was chaotic, but I would say I did not feel like we were genuinely alone to just be the two of us.
Right.
Until really the next day. Technically, yes, that night when we went to bed we were.
And I mean, now at this point, we've been together long enough that we kind of have our little overt ways of expressing our DS when people are around. And at that time, it was still so new that we did not have that yet.
Right, exactly. So you have a better memory than I do. When did this next part start? Was it that night or was it the next day? And that next part is, here we are, we're alone, kid-free for a couple of weeks. The DS can now begin. And it did not go as planned.
No, it did not. Pretty much tried to kick it in that night after everybody left. By the next day, things had devolved.
My anxiety for sure spiked.
Yeah, there were a couple things that happened. One was her anxiety had spiked. And two, in moving in and getting the truck unloaded, obviously the door is open, the air conditioner was working, its poor little heart out. And, by the time everybody left, the apartment was warm. And we kind of knew it would take time to cool back down. Well, by the next day, it had not cooled down. It had actually gotten hotter.
That's when we discovered the AC didn't work in that apartment, which was the first reason to not love living there.
Right. So here we had her anxiety spiking. We had non-working AC. June in early mid-June in Florida. So, that did not a pretty picture paint.
No. So what I recall, though, is you basically, and with my agreement, I consented to it.
Sure.
We tried to jump into our laundry list of new rules. You're going to do this. You're not going to do that. Let's try this. Let's try that. So let's back up here. Any laundry list of rules you make in your power exchange, whether you're transitioning from long distance to in person, or you're just moving in together for the first time, or you've just decided that this is something you want to add, it is pure experiment. It's all theory.
Yes.
On paper. And then you put it into action and then you decide, oh, wait, does this actually work? And for me, what I remember was feeling like none of it worked. Even things I really wanted to work, like getting your coffee ready, or doing things as you asked, or being in charge of, yes, submissive can be in charge of something, being in charge of planning meals, or just certain household activities, because I was the one at home, brand new freelancer. You were the one going off to work. It just was a good way to divide life. But I was overwhelmed by every bit of it, and I wasn't just overwhelmed because my anxiety spiked. Before I knew I had anxiety, generalized anxiety, I was very cranky about it all, and I pushed back immediately. I was like, no, we're not doing this.
And none of it was working. We were both not really arguing with each other, but we were kind of butting heads a little bit. So it was within the first couple days at that point where with everything that was going on, decided, all right, look, we need to suspend.
I remember, if I didn't say it, I know I thought, I can't do this right now.
Yeah.
I just can't do this. It's too much.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yay, I was child-free. Yay, I was living with the man that I loved. Yay, I got to live my best submissive life. But I was trying to forge a new career. Was in a completely different town. I didn't even know where anything was. Didn't know how to get to anywhere. New house. Oh, the AC doesn't work. Oh, we also need to buy furniture, but the furniture we want we can't get, or it's too expensive. And there were a lot of stressors that just happen when you pick your life up and move it somewhere, that we were then trying to incorporate our power exchange on top of and within. And I couldn't not get used to a move and a new place to live, so something had to give, and it had to be the power exchange.
Right. So the DS kind of took a backseat, and from that, we began navigating the vanilla aspect, getting the AC squared away in the apartment, dealing with the lack of furniture.
We seriously needed to buy furniture.
Yeah, we did, and we finally figured that out fairly quickly and got that down the road. And we started just smoothing out those aspects of it.
Yes. And we gave ourselves a deadline, right? We said,
I believe so. I don't remember what it was.
I think it
now
was
at this
2 weeks.
point.
I think we said, let's give it 2 weeks, because I didn't want to give up the power exchange.
Yeah.
But I knew I couldn't do both things. I couldn't transition both things at the same time.
True.
So I felt like, okay, 2 weeks to figure out a routine. And one of those weeks you were home, but one of those weeks you went back to work. So I was going to get used to having you there and then have to get used to you not being there. And I was in that, if you are a person who has consistently had a job most of your life and then you find yourself without a job, especially if you've been the income or a main income earner, you will know the stress of going, what do you mean I'm not earning money right now? So every spare moment I had, I wanted to be online figuring out this freelance life.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of stress, and our experience will not be the same as somebody else's experience. But one thing I think is absolutely true is that you need to give yourself the space to adjust to all of the changes you're making in your life, not just your DS relationship. And it is okay if your DS relationship needs to take a back seat while you go through that adjustment period. You're not giving up on your power exchange. You are being realistic with what you can handle in any given moment.
Right. And even when we got back to it, the list that was put together prior to this that we thought was going to be a good,
I think we slashed it in half.
we pretty much cut it in half and even redid
oh
some
yeah,
of that
we
as
were
well.
living a fever dream pre-move because some of the things, you were going to maybe pick my clothes every day, and I was going to do this specific routine every day, and none of it was identical to what we'd done in long distance, but it had the flavor of that, where you had a lot more direct control, and then you were like, wait, I have to navigate my whole life and control a lot of what you do. I don't think I have time for that. And we couldn't have known that until we actually tried to
navigate it. Yes.
Especially once you went back to work that second week, because you were like, wait, I got to get up at like 5:30. I got to be out the door by 6:30. I will not be home until 5. Hope you can get me by text in the middle of the day.
Right, if I'm not in a meeting.
For this laundry list of things I've told you that you need permission for. And I was like, so I think it's okay to make that wish list of what you hope your DS looks like once you're together. I just think you have to be realistic about it.
We were slightly overambitious.
Oh, sure, for sure. And then what we did when we did come back was we said, okay, let's start with one thing. If you've watched any of our past videos or listened to our podcast, you've heard us give this advice before. Just ease in with one thing, get really comfortable with that one thing, and then add something else. Well, we say that because that's what we did. I think it started with coffee. I want you to be surprised that we started our power exchange back up with coffee, but of course we did.
Worked for me.
It's our love language. And I remember you walking me through the kitchen and going, okay, here's the French press. And I like, okay, this is extra and it's fine. This is the French press, and here's when I like French press coffee, and here's how you use it. Oh, here's the coffee pot, and you did show me the exact way you like to make a pot of coffee before we got our Keurig. And this is how I like my coffee. And that actually sounds like several things at once, and in a way it was, but you still showed me all the things. We talked through your expectations of how you wanted things done, and then we still just started with, get my coffee pot ready at night before we go to bed. Then a few days later, it was, okay, here's how to make my cup of coffee. And I want you to make it in my travel cup and have it ready for me when I'm ready to go to work. And then, and we added to everything. And as I got more comfortable and more confident, then we could do more and we could move at a faster pace.
And that kind of helped to quell your anxiety.
Oh, for sure. Because I felt like, I don't know if you've ever had this feeling if you've moved in with somebody else who has their home already established. You'd only been there 6 weeks, but it still didn't feel like mine yet. You'd been there. So I was coming into a space that wasn't yet mine, and I hadn't established how I do things, when I do things. I didn't even know how to go to the grocery store yet, because I was like, I know the Super Target's up the road, but how do I get there? And I just felt out of control in a way that I didn't want to be. I don't ever want to be, and I didn't like, and it was incompatible with the lack of control that I want to have in power exchange. It was too much of a feeling of being out of control. And the one thing I could control was whether I submitted or not. And so I was like, okay, this is out of my control completely until I adjust. This is totally within my control. We'll come back to it later. And then we did. We eased into things. And we found our sense of humor. Those first couple days, you were frustrated. I was frustrated. We weren't our best selves. But once we had the break and got the AC working again, mostly, we found our sense of humor.
Right.
And then we were back to being on the same team and wanting the same result, which was whatever this power exchange was going to look like. And a big part of that was throwing out that original plan eventually and going, okay, we can't have exactly that.
For all the faults and problems that came with that, one of the good things that came out of that was we learned how to work well together.
Oh, yeah. We've definitely had plenty of time throughout our relationship to learn those lessons. That to me was the second time. The first time was planning the move.
Yeah.
And then the second time was actually moving in together and figuring ourselves out. And I'm gonna be honest, while in the first month to 6 weeks after we were living together, we had a lot of things sorted out, but really learning one another and finding our groove in our power exchange, we were still fine-tuning it a year or more later. And we still, to this day, fine-tune it, because what worked 2 years ago in that life situation we were in might not work today.
Things keep constantly changing, constantly evolving. So it's an ongoing process. It's never stagnant.
Right. And we have learned to be a bit flexible and better communicators. So part of it is not that we just automatically go with the flow and somehow mindlessly communicate with one another through some sort of telepathy.
Psychic 101.
Oh, we're in this transition in life. Our DS has to adjust. Sometimes there's a lot of rough moments where one of us is not communicating well. Neither of us is explaining our expectations or what we need. Then we have a bit of a blow up, and then we go, oh,
wait a second.
It's time to adjust this. We're trying to fit something that no longer makes sense for where we are right now. And it's in very small ways and it's in very large ways. We have now moved 4 times together.
Yes. Yeah. Apartment.
June 2014, we moved in together.
Yeah, 4 times.
Just under a year later, we bought our condo together. 4 years after that, we moved to another city to rent again. And a year later, where we're filming right now, we bought our better be our freaking forever home.
Yeah.
Together.
Ain't going nowhere now.
We have moved 4 times, and those are fairly big transitions.
Yeah.
And then we've transitioned in other ways while we've been together. And those transitions are, in some ways, exactly like that transition of long distance to in person. Whatever plans you think you have, they will not come out the exact way you envision them. You will have to adjust them. That's okay. You didn't fail at anything.
You just have to be open to being fluid.
Yes. And it's difficult. I might not have problems with this in ways that other people do, but I am super routine oriented. It calms my anxiety to know what to expect. And when the plan you've outlined gets blown up in your face because it doesn't match reality, that's stressful.
Yeah.
But knowing that we're doing it together and keeping that in mind has always been what got us through.
True.
From the very beginning to now. So, yes, when we moved in together, we tried to live our fever dream plan of what that power exchange would look like. We went on a break. We tossed the plan. When we came back to it, we started super duper slow.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that experience is more common than we realize. We're not alone in that.
No.
So that, I think, is
That's pretty
that.
much it, yeah.
And since then, like I said, we've just incorporated the things we learned then into how we do things now, and we try and get better and more communicative as we've gone. If you have ever transitioned your long distance relationship into in person and learned a few lessons, feel free to share those with us in the comments. If you are in a long distance relationship and you hope it becomes an in person relationship, feel free to ask any questions. If we can answer them, we're happy to. And yeah, so that's us, and that's how we got to where we are
From
today.
point A to point B.
I mean, there's been a lot in the past 6-7 years, but that was a good starting point.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it for us. If you enjoyed this video, we love a thumbs up. If you enjoyed us and we didn't run you off completely, please consider subscribing.
And as always, hit that notification bell so you know when we upload new content.
Sure. If you really enjoy what we do, want more of it, want to get special live streams, patron-only Discord, a special podcast stuff, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/KaylaLords. Bye.